have we got a topic for you. We're diving into a fresh, deep, and honestly pretty challenging book called Crime, Jurisdiction and Judgment, Law, Authority, and the Moral Structure of Criminal Responsibility by S.C. Sayles. What's the big question this book takes on? Well, it's actually asking, why are certain acts called crimes at all? Like, if you think about it, we have police, courts, big legal codes, all these institutions, sure. But the philosophical foundation, the deep down why behind deciding that, say, theft or assault is a crime, isn't nearly as settled as you might think. Criminology often looks at crime through social lenses, stuff like poverty, background, mental health, maybe even political power, and those things matter. But Sayles is like, hang on, we're kind of skipping a foundational question. We talk about what causes crime, but not why something is considered crime in the first place. Let's get right to the core. It's a big shift. This book says, look, crime isn't just whatever's prohibited by law. It's a violation of rightful authority inside a moral order. So in other words, law isn't just a set of rules. It's about who ought to be making those rules, what kind of relationships give rise to obligations, and how when you break those, well, you're not just breaking the law, you're disrupting something fundamental in our shared life, the moral order that holds society together. The heart of Sayles' argument is jurisdiction. Bet that's not a word you toss around at the dinner table, right? But it's actually vital. Jurisdiction is about who's got the authority to make rules and judgments. So crime, in this framework, presupposes that the person or entity labeling something illegal actually has legitimacy. If a law or authority isn't rightful, or say if it's imposed by sheer force or manipulation, then that law doesn't really create a meaningful crime. Think about that for a second. Under this view, not every law-breaking act is a crime in the full moral sense, but only those that violate legitimate authority. In a system everyone had some kind of covenantal relationship with. So how do courts fit into all this? Some people might think courts just hand out punishment to bad guys, but here, courts are given a much deeper, honestly more restorative role. When a crime happens, again, that means a violation of legitimate authority in this theory. It causes disorder, messes up the trust and bonds that help society function. The court's job is to restore that order, right the wrong, not just punish. So justice systems are about mending tears in the moral fabric, bringing things back into balance. It makes the work of judges look almost therapeutic. It's an idea that flips the old-school crime and punishment thing on its head. The book uses a jurisdictional philosophy to link law, obligation, violation, and judgment, and ties it all to moral order. This big framework covers a lot. The reason we owe obligations, the way crime is always a kind of social disorder, and even the crisis of legitimacy facing modern justice systems. Because, if people don't actually believe the law is truly legitimate, if they see authorities as corrupt or out of touch, the whole thing kind of teeters. The book is saying justice systems always depend, sometimes secretly, on a sequence that goes jurisdiction, obligation, violation, disorder, judgment, and finally, restoration. And I should remind you, Sayles builds all this on his broader philosophical works, drawing threads from ethics, political theory, you name it. He's really critiquing how legal philosophy and criminology often focus on explaining criminal behaviour, but barely touch this deep question. What is a crime? Why should something count as a violation? For the listener, you, this could make you see today's news, or even your everyday encounters with authority, in a totally different light. Do you see certain rules as legitimate? Why? Should crime always be about restoring order, or is it sometimes just about retribution? There aren't easy answers. And honestly, maybe that's the point. Wrapping up here, crime, jurisdiction, and judgment offers not a final answer, but a new framework, a lens. It wants to get us thinking about the architecture of justice, the way authority ties into the very structure of a stable society, and, well, whether our justice systems are still anchored in legitimacy or if they need a rethink.